It's 12 December 2020, and many were shocked and awed last night by the news that the Supreme Court would not hear the Texas case based exclusively on standing. I thought that the Supreme Court would it was a good thing for the country. Um, we're so divided, and we see two totally separate truths at this point. And I thought, well, if this goes to the Supreme Court and it's honestly argued, maybe even if they broke precedent and somehow showed part of the arguments, uh, maybe, just maybe, that might quell some of this division, at least in the short term. Um, but that's not what we're going to get, it appears. Uh, Talk to some Federalist oriented Straussian types over the last few days who were inclined to believe that case shouldn't be heard. It didn't comport with their version of originalism. That the state shouldn't be able to tell another state what to do. A very interesting argument coming from that side for reasons, right? However, I said subtly and quietly back during the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation that I wasn't sure that what everyone was celebrating was what they thought they were getting. And I don't think that any of the three judges that Trump has appointed is what they thought they were getting. Um, Barrett, particularly, and I wrote a piece. I think I took it down because it's just so inflammatory to certain segments of the interwebs, right? That maybe Barrett is exactly what an authoritarian, progressive, socialist, Marxist needs on the court. Her plus 6 or 7 additional progressives, if you were to add them to the court, the way she views centralization of power would be damning when combined with progressive common good causes. Look, I don't know. I don't know. I know that the arguments that were relevant before 2020 um, related to even the founding conceptual concepts and the events around the founding and the events from the founding to now that have changed us. Those were relevant academic conversations. I had someone that got mad at me yesterday when I suggested that, well, the founding was flawed from my perspective, from perspective of folks that think like me, and we fought a war over that flawed conception. John C. Calhoun spent the last half of his life um, railing against the authoritarian centralization that he saw coming based upon that flawed conceptualization. The Federalists were they were enamored with Montesquieu and Locke. The Anti-Federalists would have been more inclined taking out Thomas Paine, but most of the Anti-Federalists were more inclined to be Burkean, to adhere to Blackstone. Anyway, those things seem silly at this point, and that was really my point to the fellow I was talking to. These were beautiful arguments for 2019, but much like Edmund Burke would have said, like, we are who we are based upon both intentional and accidental events of history. Sometimes those accidents of history give us elements within our system that we would prefer not to be there, but they're there. So the academic, intellectual, having a beer conversation about the founding and the flaws that we've inserted into the system is interesting. But Burke would have said, "You fight for what you have because that's what you have," and that was my point with the guy yesterday. That while I disagree with how we got here, and who's to blame over the course of our history with you, I agree that you fight for what you have. A lot of the Federalists and the Straussians are totally unwilling in my conversations with them to give that ground. But anyway, that doesn't matter, right? The academic piece doesn't matter. The how the mass of people, or the masses that are opposed right now to what they believe is happening, that is important, because people take action, right? People shape their destiny sometime. And I think if you were to boil down the last 4 years for a lot of those people into one word, it would be hope. And I've been so very careful in what I say about this hope, because I'm such a small voice, and I get no traffic, and occasionally I'll say something and I'll get 1,000 new folks that want to listen to me. Within 2 days I'll say something else, and 975 of them will leave, and they will all be folks with certain, hashtags in their description, the profile descriptions. And I know why they come and go. It's bizarre to me that they only seek to follow people that only say the elements of the truth that they want to hold to be true, and they will leave immediately if you question that. So, hope. But I'm so concerned that much of that hope was misplaced. And I'm so concerned that as they start to realize that maybe much of it was a lie and a deception, and people they placed hope in were part of it. I don't know what that's going to mean. Do they give up? Was much of that controlled opposition intended to divide them and to confuse them? I don't know. It appears like much of it was. All I know for a fact, all I can know, is I believe the evil is real. It's a real entity, and it has existed all through man's existence, and it has a plan. And taking us to this point in our history, it would be part of that plan. And a mass deception on both sides would not be outside of the objectives of evil, right? I don't know. What if almost all of it was a deception? What if almost all of it was? Will the folks that have spent the last 4 or 5 years only believing mainstream media, will they ever wake up and see it? I think no. I think those people are lost. And I came to that conclusion midpoint during the year. And I stopped dialoguing with people that I had known for years that only wanted to argue from that position, because I realized, as nice as they may want to be and as much goodwill as they may want to have, if they have been this deceived for this long, willfully, they are ultimately dangerous, right? Maybe not individually, but collectively, they're dangerous. They will be the people that turn in Anne Frank and her family in the attic, right? That's who they are. They don't know it. Not all of them individually. Many come from they operate from a place of what they believe is goodwill, but they have been totally incapable of seeing how much they're lied to by the mainstream media. They'll go along with anything. But what of all those others, right, that have been seeking truth and having hope? What happens when they begin to realize that much of what they placed their faith in was controlled opposition? Do they fall into massive depression and simply give up? Well, that would be the intention of a mass controlled opposition, and I have no doubt that will be the case in many instances. People might even, there might be folks that give up on life, sadly enough. That's so, man, I have nothing profound to say in this other than I think we're in it deep now, and I think it's going to slow. It's showing itself because it can now. and because there's almost nothing we can do about it. And I say almost. There's still hope, and there's still a chance. But we're so deceived and so confused, and I dare say leaderless. That'll make some people mad. I don't know. That's all I have. And peace out.